At first, it felt like a shove in the chest. Then they were pushed back in their chairs, and for a second, the pressure was deeply familiar. 1G. The gravity they would never live in again. Now you gotta give them a French and Russian accent. Good luck. This is what happens when you try to be creative. Shove in the chest. And for a second, the pressure was deeply familiar. 1G. The gravity they would never live in again. The Ares had been orbiting Earth at 28,000 kilometers per hour. For several minutes, they accelerated. The rocket's push so powerful that their vision blurred as corneas flattened, and it took an effort to inhale. At 40,000 kilometers per hour, the burn ended. They were set free of the Earth's pull, in orbit to nothing but the sun. Yeah, but Michel's a dude, so I'm gonna call him Michel Duvois. Okay, we're compromising, chat. This is how it works. Littler Joe, thank you for 2 months. And for reminding me to mute my alerts. Although I will try to thank the ones that I see. In orbit to nothing but the sun. The colonists sat in the Delta V chairs blinking, their skin flush, their hearts pounding. Maya Katerina Toitanova. Dude, I swear to God, when I read this the first time, I did not realize how hard this shit would be to pronounce, because, like, I read it in my mind perfectly. In Russian. Like, I did it perfectly. And now I have to read it out loud to people. I'm like, I don't know how to... Twatnova. Maya Katerina Toitovna. Maya Katerina Toitovna, the official leader of the Russian contingent. Twatnova? No, Toitovna. That's probably correct. The official leader of Russian contingent glanced around. Maya. Oh, Maya. The one who pushed Frank to violence by being all sexy, standing there with her mask on festival night. Remember? Maya. Toitovna. Glanced around. People appeared stunned. When obsessives are given their object of desire, what do they feel? It was hard to say, really. In a sense, their lives were ending. And yet something else, some other life, had finally begun. Filled with so many emotions at once, it was impossible not to be confused. It was an interference pattern. Some feelings canceled, others reinforced. Unbuckling from her chair, Maya felt a grin contorting her face. And she saw on the faces around her the same helpless grin. All but Sax Russell, who was as impassive as an owl, blinking as he looked over the readouts on the room's computer screens. They floated weightlessly around the room. December 21st, 2026. All right, shit, guys, we only got like 3 more years. We gotta do this shit. December 21st, 2026. They were moving faster than anyone in history. They were on their way. It was the beginning of a 9-month voyage. Or of a voyage that would last one small step for man, and one giant leap for mankind. A 9 months, baby making reference, possibly. Or of a voyage that would damn it, I did it again. Last the rest of their lives. Which could also be, baby making allegory. They were on their own. Those responsible for piloting the Ares pulled themselves to the control consoles and gave the orders to fire lateral control rockets. The Ares began to spin, stabilizing at 4 RPM. I just choked on my spit. Inhale. Incorrect. And gave the orders to fire lateral control rockets. The Ares began to spin, stabilizing at 4 RPM. The colonists sank to the floors and stood in the pseudo-gravity of 0.38 G. Very close to what they would feel on Mars. Many, many years of tests. Sorry, they said many twice. Many, many years of tests had indicated that it would be a fairly healthy G to live in. And so much healthier than the weightlessness that rotating the ship had been deemed worth the trouble. I cannot fucking read anymore. I also need a refill. Damn, I wish I had a butler. 0.38 G. See, I fucked up on a sentence that started on the, I already turned the page. And stood in the pseudo-gravity of 0.38 G. Very close to what they would feel on Mars. It actually doesn't say many twice. Many man years of tests. Dude, what the fuck does that even mean? Many man years. As opposed to what? Woman years? I don't know what that means. It was made more sense as many, many. Maybe man years, like one man is like he did that for a year. So I'm gonna, okay, so I assume they mean that we call that like monkey years. This is how many years we made a monkey do it. Many monkey years of tests had indicated that it would be a fairly healthy G to live in. And so much healthier than weightlessness that rotating the ship had been deemed worth the trouble. And, Maya thought, it felt great. There was enough pull to make balance relatively easy, but hardly any feeling of pressure, of drag. It was the perfect equivalent of their mood. A man-year or person-year is a unit of measurement for the amount of work done by an individual throughout the entire year, expressed in the number of hours. The man-year takes the number of hours worked by an individual during the week and multiplies it by 52. Well, they could have just... I think many, you know... I like that they're implying that there was a man that was participating in the tests, you know? But I think we would have assumed that anyways. Many. Doesn't have to be many man years. Many years. I didn't think they were testing it on monkeys, you know? I assume it's safe for humans. A dozen people working for a month each is also a man year. What the fuck? Now I don't trust this science at all. How do they know it's safe? A relatively safe G? That many man years of tests had indicated would be fairly healthy. But it is much healthier than weightlessness. Okay. Anyways, and Maya thought it felt great. There was enough pull to make balance relatively easy, but hardly any feeling of pressure or drag. It was the perfect equivalent of their mood. They staggered down the halls to the big dining hall in Taurus D, giddy and exhilarated, walking on air. In Taurus D's dining hall, they mingled in a kind of cocktail party, celebrating the departure. Maya wandered about, sipping freely from a mug of champagne, feeling slightly unreal, and extremely happy. A mix that reminded her of her wedding reception many years before. Hopefully this marriage would go better than that one had. Torsty's nuts. He got him. Hopefully this marriage would go better than that one had, she thought. Because this one was going to last forever. The hall was loud with talk. It's a symmetry, not so much sociological as mathematic. A kind of aesthetic balance. We're hoping to get into the parts per billion range, but it's not going to be easy. Maya turned down and offered refill, feeling giddy enough. Besides, this was work. She was co-mayor of this village, so to speak, responsible for group dynamics, which were bound to get complex. Antarctic habits kicked in, even at this moment of triumph, and she listened and watched like an anthropologist or a spy. The shrinks have their reasons. We'll end up 50 happy couples. And they already know the matchups. She watched them laugh. Smart, healthy, supremely educated. Supremely well educated. Was this the rational society at last? The scientifically designed community that had been the dream of the Enlightenment? anything is possible. Was this the dream of a rational society that had been the dream of the Enlightenment? But there was Arkady, Arkady, Nadia, Vlad, Ivana. She knew the Russian contingent too well to have many illusions on that score. They were just as likely to end up resembling an undergraduate dorm at a technical university, occupied by bizarre pranks and lurid affairs. Except that they looked a bit old for that kind of thing. Several men were balding, and many of both sexes showed touches of gray in their hair. It had been a long haul. Their average age was 46, with extremes ranging from 33. Hiroko Ai, the Japanese prodigy of biosphere design, to 58, Vlad Taniv, winner of the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Now, however, the flush of youth was on all their faces. Arkady Bogdanov. But Arkady Bogdanov. Arkady. Now, however, I said bong, but maybe it sounded like bum. Arkady Bogdanov was a portrait in red. Hair, beard, skin. In all that red, his eyes were a wild electric blue, bugging out happily as he exclaimed, "Free at last, free at last. All our children free at last." The video cameras had been turned off after Janet Bly-Levin had recorded a series of interviews for the TV stations back home. They were out of contact with the earth. In the dining hall, anyway. And Arkady was singing, and the group around him toasted the song. Maya stopped to join this group. Free at last. It was hard to believe. They were actually on their way to Mars. Knots of people talking, many of them world-class in their fields. Ivana had won part of a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Vlad was one of the most famous medical biologists in the world. Sachs was in the pantheon of great contributors to subatomic theory. Hiroko was unmatched in enclosed biological life support systems design, and so on all around. A brilliant crowd. And she was one of their leaders. It was a bit daunting. Her engineering and cosmonautic skills were modest enough. It was her diplomatic ability that had gotten her aboard, presumably. Chosen to head the disparate, fractious Russian team, with the several Commonwealth members. Well, that was okay. It was interesting work, and she was used to it. And her skills might very well turn out to be the most important ones aboard. They had to get along, after all. And that was a matter of guile and cunning and will. Willing other people to do your bidding. She looked at the crowd of glowing faces and laughed. All aboard were good at their work, but some were gifted far beyond that. She had to identify those people, to seek them out, to cultivate them. Her ability to function as a leader depended on it. For in the end, she thought, they would surely become a kind of loose, scientific meritocracy. And in such a society as that, the extraordinarily talented constituted the real powers. When push came to shove, they would be the colony's true leaders. They, or those who influenced them.